Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited that we are doing this live webinar, this live training. I want to say a big air hug and fist bump and elbow bump to everyone in the Emory community. I was so excited to work with the Emory team on bringing a training to all of you around the world, Emory alumni. I'm class of 2007 from the college, and I wanted to today hopefully have a little bit of community. So pop into the chat, tell me where you are, tell me your class year. If you have any questions, you're also welcome to pop those into chat. I'll be taking questions throughout and at the end. I have a whole bunch of content that I want to present today, and I want to start off just by acknowledging this crazy, unprecedented time we're in, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It feels like every day we wake up and we have no idea what the world has in store for us. And it's overwhelming and it's anxiety provoking. And I think that the only way that we can get through this is by doing things like this. Thank goodness that technology exists, that we can actually do this. I think it's amazing. And today I'm hoping that I can share some tools and some resources and some science on what we can do to bring back a little bit of control, to maintain calm in this very difficult time, and also to stay connected even during social distancing. For all my extroverts watching, you're probably like counting down the days till social distancing is over. For my introverts and my ambiverts are somewhere in between the two. Maybe you're relishing the alone time, but also still craving a little bit of connection. So I'm hoping I can talk about some of the science for that. So I'm actually going to get started on presenting. Again, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to pop them in and I will try to read them as I go. So the very first thing that I wanted to talk about is the idea that right now everything feels very, very out of control. And there's a really interesting psychological phenomenon that helped me bring me some relief during this time. And it's the concept of a locus of control. And the locus of control science basically says that as humans, we derive a lot of our satisfaction and our calm and our happiness based on how much control we feel we have over our lives. So right now, it feels like we don't have a lot of control over anything. And there are two different kinds of people. There are people who have an external locus of control, and there are people who have an internal locus of control. So the difference here, and I also want to make sure I have my window up just in case anyone has any questions. So the difference here is that if you have an external locus of control, you gather your sense of well-being from external circumstances. This could be everything from the number in your bank account to the number of likes you get on Facebook to the number of praise or comments that you get to the cleanliness of your home. That's an external locus of control. You think of things outside of you as dictating your internal well-being. Then there are people who have an internal locus of control. People who have an internal locus of control use internal triggers and internal factors to self-regulate their feelings of well-being and happiness. So this would be feelings of gratitude or appreciation, being able to self-calm, being able to meditate, being able to be present or in the moment, having a strong sense of self-worth or confidence. What they found is that they can tell a lot about how we're going to react to events based on whether we have an internal or external locus of control. Right now, as so many things are out of control around us, my entire mission and my goal is to try to help you dial up or develop that internal locus of control. That if there are small ways that we can take control of things in our life, of our feelings, of our emotions, tap into them, dive into them, that actually brings us a better sense of control and a better sense of satisfaction. When I read that study, I have an external locus of control, and I realized why sometimes I feel so out of control the moment something goes wrong. So I work at home with my husband, and my daughter is now home. She's 1.5 years. And so all of a sudden, everything in my life turned upside down. We're worried about staying healthy. We're worried about the business. And I realized that I had to develop some internal triggers or even some small rituals to help me bring back the control. And so this is the very first thing that I want to share, one of my first challenges for you, which is to set up rituals. Rituals are incredibly important. They're one of the easiest and low impact ways to set up control in your life. And I find them to be incredibly relief producing. And the first thing that I want to do is, if you're willing to do a little exercise with me, is looking at your new workday versus your old workday. And this is because a lot has changed in our professional work life with your job, looking for a job, being at home, working with a partner, parenting all the time, whatever that change is for you. I want to actually set up some control around what your day looks like. So if you have a pen and paper, get out a pen and paper for me now. Oh, hello, Michelle. Thank you. Great topic. Wonderful. So get out a pen and paper. And what I want you to do here is I want you to first make a list. So your start time of your old day. So let's say you started work at 8 or 9 a.m. All the way down to about when you went to bed. So maybe 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., depending on how long your day is. So just quickly make a list of those numbers by the hour. And I want you to begin to go down and start to list out your old schedule. So everything from morning routine, make breakfast, get kids ready for school, commute, coffee time, all the way through. And I also want you to think about your tasks during your workday, like emails, calls, meetings, one-on-ones, writing, whatever you were doing in your old workday. I want you to try to break down when you typically did those tasks. What's really interesting about this exercise is one of two things will happen, and I've done this with thousands of my students so far. One of the things I've been trying to do a lot in the last few weeks is just teach, and help as much as I can. And one of two things usually happens with my students. We'll see if this happens with you as you're filling this out. Either you'll have a very, very rigid routine day. You know exactly what you did. You can know that at 9:12 a.m. you walked into the office, hit the elevator button, and got to your desk by 9:17. That is typically evidence of someone with an external locus of control, that you set up a routine to make sure that keeps you in line, that keeps your productivity in line. Or you'll have a day where you're like, what did I do all day? Or, gosh, I know I work for 9, 10, 11 hours a day, but I couldn't even tell you the pattern. I couldn't even tell you the routine. Like, those times are just lost. Have you ever had those afternoons where you're working your butt off, you are working so hard, and you end the day and you're like, did I just do emails for 6 hours straight? Or did I just have 5 video calls in a row and I have no idea what we got done or talked about? So I want you to begin to make that. And if you're having trouble finding a pattern, that's okay. You can put question marks, you can put approximations. I just want to get a quick snapshot of what that day used to look like. At the end of that video, if you didn't have time to finish that, make sure you finish the exercise. Okay, now, on the other side of the page, or on the back side of the page, I want you to do your new ideal workday. Now, I use the word ideal with a caveat and an asterisk and a parentheses because we are not in our ideal. We're not in our ideal right now. Obviously not. But we can think, okay, given all the circumstances that have changed in my life, maybe you have a lot of people at home, maybe you have no one at home, what is the ideal practical workday right now? And while you do this, I want you to write down the different times. And before you do all the different tasks for this, I want to just mention something that I have noticed over the last few weeks. So at Science of People, we have over 300,000 students who are in our courses. And one thing I've noticed is what's happening right now is that people around the world are having the exact same experiences, but those experiences are felt very differently. For example, everyone is at home. Everyone is trying to survive and stay healthy at home. And the very same experience, you have two totally different opinions. On the one hand, you have people who live and work alone who are experiencing extreme loneliness without having any kind of physical connection for potentially weeks or months. On the other hand, you have people on the very same work teams or in the very same city who are experiencing no alone time at all. They're home suddenly with their partner and their kids, maybe even extended families living with them, and now they have no boundaries, no alone time. So at the very same time, we're going through a shared experience with two potentially polar opposite difficult challenges. Extreme loneliness versus no alone time and no separation time. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to send compassion out for that. Because as we do this exercise, that means it's going to be different for each and every person, and that's a good thing. Your ideal day is going to look very different if you're spending all day alone, and you need to build in that connection time to fulfill you, to make sure that you still feel connected. Whereas my folks who have no alone time and have lots of people living in their home, we need to make sure that we structure in self-care and alone time for you. So when you think about your ideal day, here's what I want you to think about. And this is a very different way to think about your tasks. I want you to split up your tasks into energy-giving tasks and to energy-draining tasks. So in every day, there are tasks that spur energy. They're energy creation tasks. You do them and they reinvigorate you. You feel like, yes, I got this. I like this. They make you want to work more. They give you energy. Things for me like writing. I love, love, love my writing hours. That gives me energy. My team calls, when I talk to my team, that gives me energy, even if it's over video. Versus the activities that drain you. Activities that drain you are things that you dread. So before the task has even begun, you're thinking about your to-do list and you're like, I don't want to do that, right? So if that's happening, those are energy draining tasks. You dread them when they come up. When you're going through them, they feel like they take forever. You know those tasks, right? Those are your energy draining tasks. Those can be personal or professional. For example, I'm not a fan of doing the dishes. Other people find that meditative. For me, it drains me. I dread it all day long. I also really, 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 really don't like doing phone calls and email. I dread it. It drains me. That's okay. We all have those tasks. What I want you to do for your ideal day is we have this very unique opportunity to reset up behavior. Now that we are forced into brand new behaviors, you have a choice to be able to set up that behavior purposefully. And that is all about our internal locus of control. The wrong way to do this, the way that drains us and that doesn't set us up for success, is letting it happen to us and being like, well, I'll just let the days move or roll forward. The right way to do it is to say, okay, I've been given this time. It's not ideal. I'm very scared. How can I use this to set up a different kind of a schedule purposefully? Even if it isn't your ideal schedule, the beauty of an internal locus of control is as long as it's purposeful. Like, we all are going to have to do tasks we dread, but if we know exactly when we're doing them, if we're purposeful about planning it, it actually makes us feel less bad. It's this magical thing that happens that when you know that you've couched it during a specific time, during a certain time, you've set yourself up for it, the task feels less dreadful. So what I want you to do is think about your day and stagger them, ladder them. So energy producing tasks should be right at the start of the day, right? You want to get those to spur you on. That helps you, by the way, feel less dread at the beginning of a day, feel less dread when you first wake up. And then couch your energy draining tasks with your coffee break. That's when I have my caffeine. When I know I have a whole bunch of phone calls, when I know I have 50, 60, 80, 100, 200 emails in my inbox, that's when I get my favorite oat milk latte with 2 shots of vanilla, 3 shots of vanilla. Yeah. That's what gets me through. So I want you to think about building in your energy giving tasks with your energy draining tasks. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Welcome, Michael, too. Michael said, I use Alexa to ritualize my day. Beautiful. Oh my God, I love that idea. So the master level here, which Michael just said, is tying in technology to this. So if you're willing, if you're able to tie in Alexa to your day, to tie in reminders, to use project software that actually has timers in it like Asana, to use rescue time to make sure that you're taking control of the things that aren't working for you. So the last thing I want to talk about here with your ideal day is a news diet. Having the news on all day long has different effects for different people. For example, for me, when I see the news on all day long, it gives me constant panic and anxiety. I have sort of an eye on it at all times. I'm watching the stocks. I'm looking at those horrible counters, and it drains me. Whereas my husband has to have the news on in the background. It makes him feel more in control, more in the know, projects less about what could be happening when he just has it off to the side. 2 totally different ways of experiencing the news. So he has his own workspace and he puts it on his far distant computer, so I don't have to see it. He has a little extra screen for it, so I don't have to see it too. So what I want you to think about here is how are you getting your news? Is it helpful to you to start the day by looking at all those numbers? Do you want to wait till a specific time where you look at the news or get your news update? You also want to set up these boundaries with your family or your coworkers about how and when and where you talk about them. For example, I don't know about you, but whenever I've been getting on calls recently, we kind of start off with a little bit of the doom and gloom, right? We have number reporting, we have kind of the scary, sad updates. And so on our team, we decided to ritualize when and how we were talking about those updates so that they weren't bleeding into every single meeting. So I want you to think about your ideal workday. So hopefully you'll spend a little bit of time laddering those tasks. The next thing I want to challenge you to do is adding in shared rituals. So shared rituals take the benefit of an internal locus of control, because you're bringing purposeful connection in, and all the benefits of connecting and the chemicals of connecting. So I love connection chemicals. I have my favorites behind me. So we have dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. So these chemicals are essential for connection. And the good news is we can produce these chemicals even through social distancing. Research has found that you and I can produce oxytocin, which is the chemical for connection. Where is she? There's oxytocin. That we can produce oxytocin through webcams, which is incredible. And the reason why this is important is because we tend to think, oh my gosh, if I'm going to have all of my connections virtually, I'm not going to feel connected. But the truth is, the chemical feeling of connection has to do with a nice blend of serotonin and oxytocin. Serotonin is the chemical of belonging. This is a very simplified version of these chemicals, but it's just enough for what we need for a Facebook Live. Serotonin makes us feel calm. It's that feeling when you're with people and you think, I really belong here. I really like these people. Oxytocin is the chemical of connection. That's the chemical of acceptance. That's when you're with someone and you get the warm and fuzzies. You're like, oh, this person makes me feel so good. They make me feel so loved and so liked and so cared about. We can absolutely produce these chemicals even through a webcam, even through shared ritual. Shared ritual, the research here is vast. Shared rituals produce calm and predictability, which we desperately need right now. They can also produce shared humanity, oxytocin and serotonin. When we're all doing something at the same time, this right now, you making that little list with me, hopefully you laughing at my bad jokes, that produces oxytocin and serotonin. So what I want you to think about is, how much shared ritual do you need in your life? And this is an important question based on your personality. So when we look at personality science, there's a lot of people who talk about personality out there. There's Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and DISC. The only true personality science is actually called the Big Five. It's the only personality science that's backed up by academic institutions and used around the world. That's predictable, and they're actually able to peer review it. And one of those 5 traits is called extroversion. Extroversion is a spectrum. When we think about extroversion, we usually think about just extrovert or introvert, but actually there's a nice spectrum on it. On the top end, you have our extroverts, and you need lots of social time. You get energy from social time. On the bottom of the spectrum, you have our introverts, and they get energy from alone time, from self-reflection time. Most people, and we've done a lot of research on this in our lab, so we've had, I think, over 40 or 42,000 people take our extroversion quiz. And that's, if you want to take it, you're welcome to. It's free. It's scienceofpeople.com/personality. Most people are ambiverts. They're actually not extremes on the spectrum. Ambiverts can dial up into extroversion when they need to, but also need to have a little bit of that self-reflection and alone time. Most people are in the middle of that spectrum. So what I want you to think about here is, when you were happiest, how much social time were you getting? Was it every day? Was it every week? Was it every month? And then what is your preferred type of social contact? Now, for most of us, physical contact or in-person contact isn't happening, or it's happening a lot, depending on where you are on the spectrum. Is it text? Is it video chat? Is it doing a game together online? Is it playing words with friends? What is your preferred mode of social connection? This is how you create your shared rituals. And I'm just going to give you a couple of suggestions for ideas. Learn with someone. Do a book club with your friends. Read an article with your friends. With your team, one thing I do with my team is we do a TED Talk every Tuesday, which I love. Everyone takes turns picking, and then we either watch the TED Talk on our own and discuss it or watch it all together. So think, could you learn something with someone? The second kind of idea is pure dopamine. So the chemical I haven't talked about a lot is dopamine. Dopamine, very simplified, is the chemical that makes us feel excited or pleasure. It's when we're looking forward to something. We need now more than ever things to look forward to. And so I would love for one of your shared rituals to be something dopamine producing. Do a Netflix party with some of your friends. Do virtual happy hours. Do Gift Friday where you send funny gifts. And then I highly, highly recommend doing 36 deep questions. So this is actually right now our most popular post on Science of People. I'm not surprised because we're all having all this extra time. Researcher Arthur Aaron wanted to know if he could develop questions or conversation starters to fall in love or to get more intimate. And so he developed 36 questions to fall in love. And they're very interestingly laid out. The more you go, the deeper you go. The longer you go, the deeper you go. And so here is my next big challenge for you. Pick one person in your life. It can be your partner, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a best friend, a parent, an old camp friend that you want to connect with. And do 36 questions over the next 36 days. One question a day. I think, and maybe Venus will put the link up for me. So it's scienceofpeople.com/deep-questions if you want to find all 36. I want you to do 36 questions over 36 days. You can do these over text. One question a day. You can do them over video. You can do them over dinner, over breakfast, over coffee. You will be shocked at how much you learn about the other person. That is the magic challenge, by the way. That challenge has the potential to produce all three. Dopamine for exciting questions, oxytocin for bonding and connection and opening up and sharing vulnerability, and serotonin when you find similarities, when you have similar answers. I think I'll give you a couple of examples of some of my favorite ones that I remember. And you can just write these down if you want. So one of my favorites is, what's something you've always wanted to do, but you haven't done it? Why haven't you done it yet? It's a great one for tapping into secret wishes, secret desires, untapped desires. And by the way, my goal with that one right now is maybe someone will say, I've always wanted to learn Spanish. Now is the time. So maybe we'll actually create some ideas for learning our shared ritual. I love this. Lindsay said another idea is to use the Chrome plugin to watch Netflix shows with your friends. Amazing. Do a Netflix party. Thank you, Lindsay. I love it. That is the perfect dopamine producing one. And if you're really feeling extra amazing, you could even watch a learning program or a documentary on Netflix. There's a great link I love. I think it's 48 of the best streaming documentaries on Netflix, and it's been really fun to pick out some of those and watch those with friends. So Lindsay, great suggestion. Bonita said, news diet is a wonderful idea. The doom and gloom of the news plus the Facebook stories can get overwhelming. I search for positive inspirations on YouTube or listen to music. Breaks are important. Okay, Bonita, you said something so interesting here. So 2 things. Yes, a news diet. You also might consider going on a social diet. So we get a lot of our news through social media. I also want to encourage you, this is a little bonus challenge. Go unfollow people who do not inspire you. If you're not excited to read their update, mute or unfollow them. I give you full permission. Just blame me. Be like, this crazy woman, Vanessa, she told me to unfollow people. This is the time to do a little social media cleanse. Right? Only follow people who genuinely make you feel good. And you also said something great here, which is searching for positive inspiration on YouTube. So I created a couple playlists on YouTube for you if it's beneficial. One, on our YouTube channel, we did a laughter lunch. So I'm trying to watch inspiring or uplifting videos only during lunch, because otherwise I was getting sucked into the news cycle. So I think there's about 50 videos on there if you want to laugh with me at lunch. So laughter lunch playlist. I also have great motivational interviews on my YouTube. If you want to watch those, are some of my favorites. And I believe I also have learning videos. So if you want to learn more about human behavior or people skills, I love those ones. So that's such a great idea. All right. Ismo, I live by myself and I have news on in the background to see some life. I do switch to concerts, etc. on YouTube a few times a day. So this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, Ismo. I love it, which is if you are living and working alone, you have to set up different kinds of things that give to you. So whether that's turning on the news in the background or a silly video of me or a TED Talk, whatever that is, that's going to give you little bursts of dopamine or little bursts of serotonin during the day. So I absolutely love that. Another kind of fun, I'm going to give you a couple of fun ideas here, if you're willing. One, ask your friends if they're willing to do an art tour of their home. So one of the best parts about this is you get to video chat with people in their PJs, in their home. Like I'm in my PJ pants right now. I can't see them. I'm nice on top, but schlubby on the bottom. So I've done this with a couple of friends where they live in other cities and I have never been able to visit them. And so I asked them to take me on an art tour, and all they do is show me around the posters on their walls, their kids' art projects, an old antique photograph someone found at a garage sale. I show them some of the paintings that we have in our house. I do a little tutorial of my chemicals, which I love. So you can also do something like that. Another fun idea for you here is harnessing nostalgia. Nostalgia is one of the best ways that you can spur positive emotions. It's the cheapest way to do it. It's basically borrowing positive memories from the past and bringing them to the current. So the best way to do this is, one, go organize all your old photos and print up postcards for people. Two, go through your music, make playlists, work playlists, play playlists, meditation playlists. And this is the best part, create a mixtape for someone in your life. Remember back in the day, depending on how old you are, in high school, elementary school, college, when you made mixtapes and it was like the greatest thing. You not only loved making the mixtape for someone, but you loved receiving it. Go make a mixtape playlist. You can do these on YouTube, you can do them on Spotify. Make a mixtape playlist for the people you care about in your life. It's such a great way to harness nostalgia. It's a great way to also give someone something that will also make their day. This is my last and final tip here, is what we need now more than ever is kindness. And I think that we have to be what I call kindness warriors. And the reason why I say we have to be warriors is because it's hard to be kind when you're scared. It's hard to be kind in the face of challenging news, difficult times. And so we have to really fight to be able to find that inner reservoir of kindness. And so is there something nice that you can do for someone? As small as a text check-in, as big as sending them a meal. Maybe go on LinkedIn and write recommendations for every person you've worked with. This is one of the nicest things you can do for someone, especially if they've recently lost a job. Go write recommendations for how great they were to work with, what a pleasure they were to work with. That will be the best surprise for them, especially if they're starting to look for a job. Send a postcard to someone with your favorite picture. Send a playlist to someone. Send a happy gift to someone to make their day. I think we have to start and end our day with as much kindness as we can. All right, let's see. What did we miss? Okay, Elizabeth, how do you deal with a doom and gloom friend? The kind of friend who drags you down, but you love her. Yes. Okay. So I have very specific strategies on this. Also, by the way, Elizabeth, I have a webinar. It's a free webinar. It's how to deal with difficult people. I have some boundaries in there. But for this specific person in this specific time, you want to be vulnerable and ask for advice. And here's how that works. We want to be as open and transparent as possible. So I want you to call this friend or video chat this friend if you can. It's always better when there's like a little bit of voice tone or body language. And I would say something like this. I am really stressed and overwhelmed right now. And I've decided I got some great advice today that I have to go on a news diet, which means that I am only taking in positive news, positive updates for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I would love your help. I need your help doing this. I know that sometimes we'll talk and we kind of get into the difficulty. We worry together. And right now, I just have to keep it positive. So first, do you have any advice for me on this? And second, can you help me over the next 3 weeks, 21 days, where you just help me keep it positive? Don't let me go doom and gloom. Don't let me go negative. You have to keep me positive on our calls and on our texts. It's actually a way of reaching out for help, which is very honest, and giving the action to her. So instead of you having to be the kindness keeper and you saying, I'm not talking about that right now, you're actually asking for her help to hopefully help keep you positive. And by the way, if she respects this, she is a good friend. If she doesn't respect it, you might think about going on a 21-day break from her as well. Yeah, something to think about. All right, what did I miss? I shared my current mantra with my girls group 2 days ago: faith over fear, prayer over paranoia, and common sense over corona. I love it. We all need some more mantras. Put them up. Like, mantras are great. Like, put sticky notes up. You got this. You look great today. I mean, I'm all about that. I love that. So I want to make sure I get a couple more questions. Oops, it's already 11:30. Lindsay said, what's your mantra that you're using to get through some of the hard times being isolated? Lindsay, I'm so glad you asked. I'm actually going to bring it up. So this is what we'll end on today. So I am using the positive impact test. So the positive impact test was created by Tom Rath, and I have modified it for getting through this time. I don't know about you, but I'm having a really hard time sleeping. I get in bed at night and my mind just worries and goes over things. And so I started to do a impact test at the end of the day, and I invite you to do this too. So here it is, 3 questions. 1, I have helped someone in the last 24 hours. 2, I have praised someone in the last 24 hours. And lastly, in the last 24 hours, I have told someone that I cared about him or her. If I haven't done those 3 things at the end of the day, I start texting people, I send pictures, I call people. It's a way that I ground myself in kindness and I think what really matters, and that takes down my worry. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for joining me today, giving me a little bit of your time. I hope this makes you feel a little bit more empowered in developing that locus of control. I'm here for you if you need me. I'm at scienceofpeople.com. Come find me. I have made a pledge that every single article we put up is to help you through this time, is to help you social distancing. We have articles on video chat, working at home, working with your partner, parenting during this time, conversation starters during this time. So we will only be putting out content that's relevant and helpful to you right now. I want to thank the Emory team for supporting this webinar, for hooking this technology up, and I'm sending lots of healthy and well hugs to you and your family. All right, bye everyone.